Hi everyone, we're continuing our learning of Mishnah on Shabbat. We're at the beginning of chapter 10 now, so we'll do Aleph and Bet from chapter 10. Hamatzniel lezera ledugma lirfuah v'hotzio v'shabbat chayav b'chol shehu. One who stored a seed, that's what we were talking about previously, for sowing or for as a sample. Let's say they're selling seeds, or for medicine, and took it out on Shabbat, is liable for any amount. So normally we said that there would be a minimum requirement for everything, for all these things, but if an individual has a purpose for this and is storing it for a purpose, it could be even less than the normal minimum requirement that we say applies to most people in general. Okay, v'chol adam ein chayav alav elek shiro. Other people, however, are not liable except for its prescribed amount. So that's what we had said previously. Right? It has to be, there's a certain amount for different things. That is the minimum amount that one is liable for. But if someone in particular has the intention of storing even less than that amount, then they would be liable for it. Chazar v'hichniso eno chayav elek shiro. If he changed his mind, so this is back to the first person who stored the one seed for a particular purpose, whether it be for actually planting or for using it as a sample to sell seeds, or for medicinal purposes. So if this person changed their mind and then brought it in, then transferred domains with this thing, he is not liable except for the prescribed amount. So then the original rules would apply to him if he ends up saying, you know what, actually I'm not storing it for that, I'm not going to use it to plant, I'm not going to use it as a sample or for medicinal purposes, I just want to transfer it for no reason, or then the original standard would apply to him of there being a minimum amount and it not just being one seed for most things. Okay. Bet. Hamotzi achalin untanan al ha'iskupa bein shechazar v'hotzian bein shehotzian acher patur mipnei shelo asa melachto bevat achat. So one who took out food and placed them on the threshold, whether he himself subsequently returned and took them out, so then transferred them to the public domain, or whether someone else took them out, he is exempt, since he did not perform his work at one time. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about the area between the private domain, someone's house, and then the public domain. In this case, it sounds like that area that he's placing this basket of fruit or something like that down, this food stuff, or it says, so it sounds like they're placing it down in the Carmelite. So this area, a Carmelite, we have the private domain, we have a public domain, and then we have a Carmelite, which is something in between. The Carmelite is by rabbinic law is considered a public domain, but not by biblical law. So it's this in-between kind of space. So it must be that this person, in order for this person to say this person is exempt, we know that it must be a Carmelite, because if it were going from a private space and then to the private space, and then putting it down and then transferring it to a public space, then of course the first action is nothing, and only the second person will have done something. And if it were from public to private, from private to public, put down and then move to a public space, then the second person's, the first person is certainly doing something. So in order for it to be exempt for both actions, even if it's the same person, it must be it's going from private to Carmelite, from Carmelite to public, in order for it to be exempt from any biblical liability. Okay? Moving on. Kupa shehi mele'a perot untana al ha'iskupa hachitzona af al pi sherov ha'perot mibachutz patur ad shiotzi et kol hakupa. So one who took out a basket which was full of produce and placed it on the outer threshold, even though the greater portion of the produce is outside, he is exempt until he takes out the entire basket. So it has to be that we consider this basket of fruit, even though you might say, oh, but a basket of fruit has many different pieces, and some of them are going to be hanging totally outside. So some of them were moved from one domain to another completely, even though the basket hasn't been moved completely. But actually we consider the basket for this purpose, this vessel that's carrying these other things, to be one kind of unit. And that's what we learn from, that's implied in this Mishnah, this concept. It's like a concept of us considering it for this purpose, one entity. Okay, we'll continue with Mishnah 3 with Gimel next week. Okay, everyone have a great week.